What's up, guys? Today we're going to go to the mountains of Tennessee, where I'm from. I grew up in Bristol, in Johnson City, and Kingsport, the Tri-Cities, which is the northeast corner of Tennessee. In fact, the state line of Virginia and Tennessee runs down the main street of Bristol. And there's this big sign that says, does like this and says Tennessee and Virginia, and that's the state line. Anyway, I digress. One of the things I remember most about driving in the mountains are roadside stands that sell produce. And in those roadside stands, there's always two things. They had a bunch of stuff, but I remember these two things. Molasses and apple butter. Today, we're going to make apple butter. Years ago in the mountains, apple butter was made when harvest time came and the apples were harvested. The women would cut them up and the men would cook, or the women would cook these over open fires in a pot with a paddle, just like this. And the paddle was long because apple butter would pop as it got hot, but you had to stir it constantly. So this paddle was on a long stick, this flat paddle. So you'd stand back and you would do this for hours until that apples cooked and reduced into something spreadable like butter. Hence the name apple butter. If you've never had apple butter, it kind of tastes like a spreadable apple pie filling, but more intense. Today, we're not using a paddle, we're using the Instant Pot. You take 5 pounds of apples, we're gonna cut them up, put the spices in there, spices and seasonings in there, cook it for 7 minutes. That cooks the apples. Then we're gonna slow cook it for about 5 hours in the Instant Pot to get that moisture out, to make it into a spreadable butter. It's great on bread. You can actually stir it up in oatmeal and stuff like that. Give it a try. Tell me what you think. If you have memories about roadside stands, or if you can think of something that besides molasses and apple butter and honey, but those two, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, guys. Give it a try. If you try it, make sure you comment. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Have a great day, guys. All right, we're going to start with 5 pounds of apples. These are actually Fuji apples. We're going to cut them, core them, and chop them. You can take the peeling off if you want to. You don't have to. We're going to use an immersion blender to puree it. Some recipes call for you to peel it and some don't. I like the peeling, so I'm going to leave it on. These have already been washed, so we're going to cut them. Now, to core them, I use a scooper. A little scoop like that. It's like a tablespoon scoop. Put it in the middle and just push it in, twist it, and that cores it. Hold on. Nope. Just want the dog to get it. And then we're going to cut out the little stem parts. It doesn't have to be a fine chop, by the way. Just kind of roughly cut it up like that. Throw that in your pot for your Instant Pot. Instant Pot. All right. Now, in order to make them not turn brown, we're going to acidulate the apples. And what that means is you're going to put an acid with them. When you put the acid with a suit that browns when it oxidizes, when it hits oxygen, when you put acid with it, it's going to prevent that from turning. It's kind of like putting lemon juice on an avocado. This is the same thing. This is putting lemon juice in this apple. And as we cut them up, we're going to toss them in that lemon juice to keep them from turning brown once they hit the air. So we're going to finish that with the remaining apples. So we've got our apples sliced or diced and cubed, about that size, cored, left the peeling on because I'm going to puree it. Into this, we are going to add 1/4 of a cup of apple juice or apple cider. We're going to add our spice mixture, which is allspice, nutmeg, cloves, ginger, cinnamon, and a little bit of salt. Toss all of it in. And we're going to add 1.5 cups of white sugar. It's kind of is like apple pie seasoning. So we're going to stir all of that together. We're getting ready to put this into the Instant Pot and let it cook. All right, it smells just like apple pie, guys. All right, guys, this is what the apple mixture looks like. We're going to put that in our Instant Pot. And listen for the sound when we close the lid. And there's the sound. We're going to set it for 7 minutes. You know, it takes me a while to do this thing, to set it. So we're going to set it to 7. High. Oh my goodness. Pressure is high. 7. Keep warm is going to be off. And say start. We'll see you in 7 minutes. All right, the timer's off. We're going to let that cool naturally for 10 minutes. We're not going to do a quick release. So 10 minutes from now. All right, so we've had it on natural release for 10 minutes. We're going to check and see. There may be pressure still. Yeah. So go ahead. The way I do this, I'll throw a rag over it. And go ahead and release the pressure. All right, once that pressure releases, we're going to mash up our apples. It says to use a potato masher. I actually don't have a potato masher, so I'm going to use a pastry cutter, which is basically the same thing. All right, we're almost there. We are good. We're going to open it. Well, and there's our apples. So we're just going to mash this up. So we are going to use an immersion blender, but that's after the slow cooking. It smells really good, guys. All right. So now, you see there's a lot of liquid in there. And that's going to be really too runny for applesauce. I mean, for apple butter. So what we're going to do is set this pressure cooker to slow cook. So with it moved down to slow cook, we're going to set it for 5 hours. We're going to set it to a medium temperature. Delay is off. Keep warm, also off. If anybody knows how to set keep warm to permanently off, let me know in comments. And then we're just going to say start. All right. Now we're going to cover that, but we want to lightly cover it. So I just used a pot lid, and we want to vent it because we want that moisture to cook out. Let it go for 5 hours. You're going to stir it about halfway through, and we'll see you at the end. Okay, the apple butter's been cooking, slow cooking for about 5 hours now. We wanted in those 5 hours for it to condense and some of the moisture to evaporate and thicken up. If it's not thick enough, let it run longer. You want it to get pretty thick, and I'm going to show you. All right, so this is our apple butter. We're going to use our immersion blender and set it on low to start off with, and just blend this till it's smooth. Crank it up a little bit. All right, that's looking pretty good. You'll want it till it's silky and smooth, just like that. All right. Now we're going to take this out and let it cool completely. I transferred this to a glass bowl and left it on a wire rack till it cools, probably 30 minutes or so. Once your apple butter is cooled, now you have to store the apple butter. You have different options. What I usually do is keep out about a cup at a time in little containers like this. I actually got these on Amazon. You get like 1 million for not much. You would not believe how handy these little guys are. Put it in there, keep it in the fridge, and split it up. It makes about 4.5 cups total. So take about 4 or 5 of these. What you don't put in the fridge, fill it till it's about that full. Throw it in the freezer. It's good for months in the freezer. You also have the option of doing canning, the old-timey canning method, which you would put in a canner and vacuum seal it and keep it that way. That's too much work. I'd rather just put it in the freezer and then pull it out as I need it. So that's what we're going to do, is put this in the freezer in these little containers and then just take it out as we need it. And that's it, guys. That's apple butter. I actually opted to use the larger containers. These hold about 1.5 cups of apple butter per container.